Today on Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, giants, monsters, chases, escapes, true love, miracles. Oh, no, that's The Princess Bride.
Want to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Master the Art of Connecting and professional speaker Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on the planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a man that's going to bring it all together for us on this program. He's an expert improviser, comedian, and Army veteran. He is best known as Barack Obama and other characters with over 100 appearances on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, helping to utilize the tools of improv to innovate and connect. Thrive Loud listeners, if Obama and the Grinch had a baby, this would be the output. I bring you Dion Flynn.
Lou Diamond, so good to see you after so long. We haven't seen each other. It was just this past weekend.
Exactly. Listeners need to know that I shared the stage with this lovely gentleman, Dion Flynn, at the Grow Retreat in San Antonio, although we had other names for that town earlier when we couldn't figure out where we were because we were traveling all over the place. Put together by the incredible Stephanie Scheller, who's been a guest on this program as well. Great time, great group of people, and getting a chance to see Dion in action, which was a ton of fun in some of the workshops and stuff, which we're going to cover on this program. But we're going to bring our listeners up to speed first here, Dion. You know, we're not going to go all the way to the womb. I know that disappoints you, but we're going to rewind the clock a little bit. If you could share with the listeners how this built up to becoming your gig, what you do each and every day.
Well, what I do, the improviser's mindset, I guess the name of it is, it kind of just espouses what I do and what I've had, both in my life, an improviser's mindset, and maybe even historically, ancestrally. Sometimes I like to, a lot of us, we come to this country either by hook or by crook, or in whatever ways our people arrived here. And you got to make it up as you go in this country. You just kind of figure it out and you listen to what's being offered by the world around you and the ability to respond well, calmly, and creatively to whatever's happening, I think is the improviser's mindset. I always say, Lou, that the basics of improv are the basics of human connection. The basics of improv are the basics of business. And I find that the more I do this, the more applicable it is, and the more I realize how applicable it is. As a performer, I just used to run around and be kind of nutty on the stage, and I thought that was improv. Hey, I had classical acting training. Can you hear it in my voice? Can
yes,
you hear
indeed.
it in my... I have altered, or Darth Vader, I have altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it further. Okay, it's an all right Darth Vader.
I think you should do your Connery would be better. Be careful, Ryan. Most things in here don't react too well to bullets. That could work.
Or Sean Connery in Highlander. Why are stars but pinholes in the cover of night?
That's really good.
Because he says, why? Because he says the same question you asked me, like, why, how did you get here? And he answers, in that way, why are the stars here? Who knows? But I think it's what I do naturally. Like, I've always been a performer and an actor, and I really did have classical acting training at an acting university, 6,500 hours of grueling acting training. So I know how to go deep into a topic, into a subject, into a discipline. And then when I got out, I worked in things, and I did Shakespeare in the Park and off-Broadway stuff. And then I found the improv theaters in New York City. I started out at the People's Improv Theater, and it blew my mind, Lou. There's a whole world of people that are making up theater spontaneously as they go. This is what I was always looking for. And I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning because it's a codified system that underlies this madness that you see in these theaters, or a show you would watch like Whose Line Is It Anyway? It seems like, oh my gosh, at home you're thinking, oh, there's no way I could do this. It's so terrifying. I wouldn't be fast enough. And in some ways, that might be true. I mean, to the average person with no training or no performative skills. Come to find out, though, in improv, there are some basic tools that underlie the whole thing, which make it really accessible and really consistent and brings out the best in even the best performers. Little things which I could go into or not, whether it's the time or not, but just to give you a little bit more of the back arcing story that led me to it all. I was a bit of a wild child, Lou. I don't know if you were you a good kid?
What do you think? I was going to ask you that. We got to know each other. What do you think?
Yeah. I think you were a good kid.
So at the core of
it, wait. Let me answer that more fully. I think you were a good kid, and I think anything you did that was bad was very secret.
That you nailed it. I'll share this with the listeners. I used to have a fake ID. That was one of the most creative ways of ever getting a fake ID. Shout out to my friend Scott, who knows this story better than anyone. Literally, we had like birth certificates like doctored, and we went into a real DMV and got real licenses, a boat license in the state of New Jersey. They can't come after me now. I've checked this out. You can't look into this. But wait, it gets better. How did this all find out? It got me into all the clubs and stuff. When I was like 24, after this thing had lapsed,
right?
They were looking for where this person was at this address, because the address I picked was actually somebody's house. And then somebody actually that we knew was on the block. I just guessed the number. And sure enough, the problem really arose when that individual, who was a little bit older than me, that lived at that location, got jury duty. That's how my parents found out about this thing. So yes, it was a pretty big secret. So yes, I was like that. That's 100% correct. And I've learned to be more open with that in time, but you've nailed who I am. See, listeners, you got a little peek behind the curtain there.
How old were you at the time?
Oh, mid-20s.
When it all came out?
Yeah, like mid-20s, like 25, 26.
Okay, so your parents weren't still, you weren't still that afraid of your
this
parents.
was much later. No. But in the early parts I always wanted to make sure that I was pleasing. I was definitely in the pleasing bucket.
So when you're pulling up to the club in your boat,
you actually have to tip the valet twice, because there's the guy who has to dock it, and then there's the one who has to go get it for you afterwards. You just nailed it. Yes.
Dock it, Luis. Yes, I love it. Wonderful. That's so funny. That's great. Well, I'll flip it back to you. You were a little bit had a tough upbringing, right? I mean, imagine yourself personally, or just a lot of challenges. I don't think you were a bad kid. No, I was kind of a bad kid, but you could trace it all and say, well, okay, I can see maybe why he was acting that way. I didn't trust people, and I was kind of frightened of those around me. And there's a couple ways you can react to being frightened of other people. There's a couple of different ways you can react to being frightened of other people. And one is to hide away. Yeah. The other one is to maybe pump yourself up and be like, get kind of big and full of yourself to sort of cover all that fear, and I did a lot of that subterfuge, a lot of different ways. And I bring all that up because when I'm in a workshop and I'm doing improv with people that aren't theatrical, but they're business, they're doctors, lawyers, people in recovery, all kinds of people. Lou, what I can see about a person in the way they improvise is I honestly consider it privileged information. Because you can see so clearly where their habits and blocks are. And this is the part of me that's not the actor. That's not the guy that does squirts whipped cream down his pants on the Tonight Show, but the part of me that's always been a mentor and a teacher and a philosopher and a writer. I'm very interested in how we operate. And I'm also interested in passing on any tools I can to help a person if they haven't gotten those tools. And here's why. I think I never met my real father. And so I didn't have that original father sort of guidance. Yeah. I had an adoptive father who certainly gave me a lot of wonderful things and did the very best he could. But I lived 2 years without even knowing, a father at all. And I think that might, I'm just sort of playing the therapist here, but I think it might have something to do with why I've always had that additional piece to my artistry, which is I really love to guide and help. There's nothing better. Look, I've worked with really, really great comedic minds. But to me, there's nothing better than what you saw in our workshop is when somebody who doesn't do this for a living gives themselves permission to play, and they play and they come up with a scene like we saw, which is not going to make much sense to the listeners. And I know this, but it never is as good in the retelling. But I'll just tell you, it ended up being a senior citizen version of Superman and a senior citizen version of The Flash, both in a nursing home plotting a breakout. So yeah, not the greatest thing to sort of relive in me retelling it, but it was a moment when the guy who was acting with me was not an actor. He had a little bit of tiny stage stuff and stuff he did at a Renaissance type fair or something, children's fair, but to see him have a breakthrough and hear him get the praise of his peers back about his performance that he did without preparation, but using his own spontaneity and creativity and really getting like effusive feedback where people were sort of groping for superlatives, that makes me very happy. And I'm the star. I'm the relative star because I've been on Fallon many, many times and all that stuff. But I begin to recede and they become the star. And I really love that.
So one of the gifts of master connectors is the ability to bring people together. And when they get together, the combination of their new connection, the one with you and now with them, gets everybody thriving. One of the things that we do here on Thrive Loud is we feature those that are thriving in their lives, their businesses, and their passions. And what is so important about what you do and what the improviser's mindset puts into place is stressing that the skills of improv are some of the most valuable rooted things, not just in business or on the stage, but in connecting them all together. Maybe just address that a little bit to the listeners here, because if you've ever been in an improv course or class, you might say, well, how is this going to apply to me leading? How is this going to apply to me doing my sales better? How is it applying to me managing my people? It does more than that. It connects everything together.
Okay. One of the basic premises that most people know, the basic equation of improv, it sort of lives at the heart of improv, is yes, comma, and ... known as yes and. Basically, it's the idea that if I walk into a scene and you're my partner and you say something to me, I'm going to yes the reality of that. If you suggest that you're the father and I'm the son and I've been out too late, I'm going to say, yeah, dad. And there was a good reason, the car broke down and whatever. And I'll come up with a reason. And then he comes back with something else and blah, blah, blah. So we're saying yes to the basic offer. So offer is something else I'm putting in italics verbally. And we'll get to that in a minute. I'm saying yes. And to lose, offer that he's my father. Yes. I'm not debating that offer, that idea. If he came to me and said, no, I'm your father and it's 10 o'clock at night and you were supposed to be home at 9. And I said, well, no, I was actually thinking that this is a grocery store and I'm walking in. We're completely not on the same page right from the beginning. And it seems ridiculous at first to hear that. It's like, okay, yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. Yeah, people aren't agreeing about the same scene, but what does that really have to do with anything? How many times? I'm only ever talking about myself. I have an agenda. I walk in someplace and I've got an agenda. I got things on my mind. I want to get this stuff off my chest. At home, talking to my wife, I got things that are on my mind for the day, things about work, things that are weighing me down. She's got what's happened with her. She wants to try to get that across. And when I can become clearer about how much of my own agenda I'm bringing into any interaction, as opposed to really being eager to interact with the person in front of me, the humanity of the person in front of me, if I can make a kind of shift and not always do this, we can't always be saintly and, perfectly present and aware, but to add that to your toolbox and to your awareness and, your where you can pivot at any given moment. It's incredibly invaluable for everybody in every profession that I've worked with, and it's also surprisingly vast, the amount of space that there actually is between people and between words, and how much listening can actually be done. I'm holding forth right now even more than I would normally, because it's my job right now to talk and give information. But ordinarily, and I think you've noticed this maybe a couple of times in here, I'll be like, Lou, what's your take on that? And how, because I would stop. I would want to involve you a little bit more. I've come to learn over the years that this is an artificial format, and it doesn't necessarily adhere strictly to the back, but it can still. So Lou, how does that land on you? What do you think?
Tell me what you're feeling right now.
Yeah, tell me what you're feeling, Lou.
We both have a mutual friend in common who I know work with, who's been a guest on the show, and we talked about it in Jean Stafford. Who's so wonderful. I've actually been in her improv workshops as well, which has been a ton of fun. And the exercises you guys do, you mentioned this earlier, it's the opportunity to play. You remember there was that book a long time ago that said, everything I ever learned, I learned in kindergarten. And there's so much to that, because the components of imagination, of being open, willingness, and play, whether it's society or trends or formalities or things throughout the year, we get further and further away from it. But this brings us back. And what I loved, for those listeners who've ever been in an improv class, and specifically those who have ever been in one that brings your business colleagues together, the feeling that you described earlier about what it feels like to watch those performers get their lauditude by the audience, by their congratulations on what a great job they're doing, but also everybody saying, wow, I can now see how this connects to me. That feeling to you, it's better than anything else, is it not?
Yes, it really is. It really is. And speaking of Jean Stafford, Jean Stafford and I were the two people that held out a shingle every week in the beginning of the Improviser's Mindset and said, hey, let's make a place for people to land during the pandemic, that they can come every week. And we took it online, something that I had been doing for years and that she had been doing for years separately. But we met online, and we invited people to come every Wednesday at 1:00. And we still do. I mean, I still have people arrive and have a 30-minute play session in the middle of the week. She's got a big heart, and she brings, a lot of real tough life experience to the improv that she does. And she just loves it. And you can feel her exuberance for it. So I'm so glad you mentioned her. Bringing the best out of people, providing, what I love, Lou, I love that I work with such knowledgeable professionals. They're very knowledgeable in their area. And yet in many cases, this area has not been given the consideration that I've taken the time to give it. Because sometimes people will say, well, what can this do for my business? They want bottom lines. I get it. We're actually dealing with, in the Improviser's Mindset, we're actually dealing with, what if every single thing we did at every second wasn't predictively productive at the outset? And what if we stepped into that and occupied that space without knowing the results in advance? The courage that comes from not knowing and stepping into the unknown, those kinds of tools, those kinds of skills, that kind of tolerance has never been more pertinent, needed, and applicable than in the last 2 years. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, and I'll just mirror this. If you're a listener and you've got your own business and you're producing products or trying to innovate something new, where do ideas come from? If you're trying to rethink about how you can maintain or grow the culture you have in your organization, think about where the ideas come from. The openness that your platform, and specifically, the ability to tap into this mindset, has as its gift and unlimited potentials, because we're not putting limits on it. And it's a wonderful way to think about growth, change, opportunities, development, all those things that are concrete words in the business world can be kind of like mushed around with Play-Doh in an improv space. How about that analogy for you there?
I love it. I love it. Anything that involves Play-Doh, because that's like
Agreed.
that's
Remember the
like
smell of Play-Doh? You know that
and the
like, oh,
taste. What
well,
about the taste,
I
Lou? Were you the
tried.
type of kid that
No,
ate
I
Play-Doh?
did not eat Play-Doh.
Oh, me neither.
I
I
mean,
mean, me neither. Well, no, exactly with where you left off. Yes, and that kind of iterative creative thinking. I say one piece, you say one piece, I'd say one piece. There was something I mentioned in the workshop, which I know you were fond of. I always say when people are doing scenes that, one person really needs to come in with a brick,
Yeah.
and the other person comes in with a brick. And then the other person puts another kind of brick. And before you know it, you got this wall made of partially my bricks and partially your bricks. If I come in with too much of an agenda, then I'm really basically coming in with any large structure, like say a cathedral. And the only thing left for you to do is to convert to my religion. And it could be a mosque, it could be a synagogue, it could be a temple, it could be any religion. But the point is, if I come in with way too much of an idea or an agenda, I'm not leaving any room for someone else's iterative thinking. Now, is there a place in this world for the auteur and the lone genius? Of course, some of the great pieces of art that we know of have come in large part from one person's vision and not having a committee. And I understand that committees can wear things down. We're talking about developing that side of you when it does come time to work in community and collaboration, exercising those muscles that need to participate in that mindset sometimes. Mm. Now, to pick up from before, you asked a really good question, and I addressed the yes and issue. Which of the tools am I actually talking about when I say that the basic tools of improv are the basic tools of human connection? Well, there's the yes and. There's also offers. Now, the basic definition of offers is anything anyone says or does in a scene. If I walk in and I say that, hey, I'm a giraffe here in the jungle, and you're my friend, and you're a giraffe too, and so I just don't, I don't know how we're going to get that stuff off the ground down there.
Well, I know that the beautiful long neck you have is going to be able to reach even above and beyond the branch that's above you. Can you get it up there?
Well, I can get the things almost close to the top, but I think I'm going to need your help. I think I'm going to need your help going that extra bit, and also with the things on the ground. So the highest and the lowest things I can't reach.
Well, what's great is that
What?
that I brought myself these springs. I'm going to use these springs. I'm going to put them up there so I can try to get as tall as you are, maybe to bounce back, keep the things on the ground and bring it back up and bring it back down and bring it back up. I think it could work.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I didn't want to mention the springs on your hooves because because I know you've been a little self-conscious about being the shortest giraffe, and I thought they were lifts. I didn't want to embarrass you.
Well, they are lifts. Yes.
Oh gosh. Okay. I shouldn't have said anything.
They lift me up. They elevate me, and they take me to new levels. I kind of like them.
I'm just glad you named it. I'm glad you said it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, good. Yes. Where did you order those? I love. Right. And so the two giraffes continue talking, and they become conversational. And sometimes you might have even thought it was Dion and Lou actually talking. Who knows? But that's what starts to come through these silly characters is a more playful version of ourselves. And it's not that all the characters in the scenes are always friendly or never argue. They do. Yes isn't about never saying no. It's about saying yes to the reality that has been offered. Now, to put a finer point on this offer concept, an offer is the offers that were in the scene, the little scene that we did not plan to do. We did not script that before. Some of you will believe that very readily. And some of you will be like, wait, did they plan that? That little giraffe scene. Okay. Here are the offers. Lou, what were some of the offers? I'll name a couple of them. Giraffe, hoofs.
Things up top, the springs, the comfort level of me with the springs.
Yes, that's right. So there were some emotional offers that we know exist between living beings, right? We were giraffes, but obviously we're humans. In anything we're in, we bring human to it. And so there was broaching the topic of an embarrassing sort of adjustment that this guy, and we start to recognize ourselves in these scenes, even if they've been transposed onto silly animals and stuff. And what happens is it starts to make it safer and funner to talk about and surface and debrief maybe some of the areas where I'm stuck, because sometimes people won't be as yes Andy as Lou just was. They'll be like, no, no, and they'll offer their habitual no. But anyway, I want to close the chapter on offers and just say offers are the jungle, the hooves, the springs, the trees, and we both were yes anding very rapidly. It ends up sounding like we're both inside the same scene. And transpose this onto a job situation or a work environment or a corporate situation, everyone starts to sound like they're actually talking about the same project and are in the same conversation and working toward the same end, even though they might have slightly different points of view.
Totally. I want to focus a little bit on you for a sec here, because I know,
Who, me?
Like that. Yes,
no, I couldn't.
Yes. It's a question that I ask just about every guest that's been on this program, and I want to hear where this goes. Hey, look, you've had a career that in front of millions of people on television. You followed your passion into this improviser workshop and worked with some great companies. And you have a wonderful, we didn't get to this, but a wonderful wife, wonderful family. And what I would love to say is that you're thriving on most days, which is just spectacular. He does go with the flow wherever it is, no matter what the wind and weather is like in San Antonio for another podcast.
You get another podcast. Lou caught an early flight and I had to stay for an extra day because I got caught in a windstorm. Anyway,
so on those days when you're not quite kicking on all cylinders, Dion Flynn, what practice do you seek, or maybe which individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
I used to always say I wake up every morning afraid. And I don't anymore. I actually can't even say that anymore. I used to wake up afraid and I wasn't aware that I was afraid. And then I would just live my life and sort of like take unconscious action. And then I woke up every morning and I was aware that I was afraid, and I would meditate and get grounded and read some of the old philosophies. I like the old time-honored axioms and poetry and wisdom traditions from a lot of different wisdom traditions, and I'll read them. And they get me grounded in a kind of timeless mindset, a timelessness, the basic truths of reality and love and abundance and things. And then I'm not so lost in the ups and downs of any given day. And really the truth is I don't go and face any given day without getting grounded first. And so literally, what am I talking about? I will read these verses from whatever wisdom tradition, and I will sit quietly and I will listen for answers, because bouncing around in my head in the morning usually are the worries, just the top 3 to 500 worries, that bounce around a business owner's head in any given day, right? And the list, the to-do list usually goes something like this. Get some milk, take son to school, get my PhD. You know what I mean? It's like they're very varied, and they're ridiculous, but they're all rooted in just like a kind of basic wake up fear. So get grounded. And what happens is the polarity starts to shift from I, by myself, little small I, am solving everything and need to solve everything, to I get into a sort of yes and mindset with the universe. And I say, okay, I know you're going to bring me some things today, and I want to be in a receptive improviser's mindset when they come. And sometimes the offers that come are not pleasurable. We had a weird thing happen earlier today, and maybe you'll cut this out, or maybe it'll seem relevant. Anyway, there's a whole parking culture in Brooklyn. Park the car and blah blah blah. And a thing, you got to move the car.
Alternate signs are in effect today, except on Wednesdays, where you can park on any side of the street. But yes,
and those of you that are not from a parking car culture, it's like anything else, where it's just a lot of people got to deal with each. Anyway, so my wife is out there parking. The guy that was parked behind her had an idea about how my wife should have dealt with the parking. So he came up to the window, rap. They're still in the middle of their 90-minute tour of duty, waiting for the street sweeper to come. And anyway, so he gets, a little insulting and not very nice. And then she calls me and she tells me about it. And then I answered her. And then she called back and she said, well, he's back and they're like harassing me. And I went down there with an improviser's mindset.
Mm.
And I got all the facts from her on the way as I walked. And then I knocked on this dude's window, because I wanted him to see what it was like to have your window full of another big human being and how intimidating that could feel, And I literally said to him in the first few sentences, I'm not going to hit you, and then I said whatever else I said, because I didn't want to take it too far either. I wanted it to be a measured response. So I guess what I'm saying is, you never know what kinds of things life is going to bring. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want that to be my day, but it was my day, and my wife needed me. So I yes and that, and I go. But it's not just Dion with his little ego going. I'm going with the knowledge and trust that all will be well. What I need in terms of words, objects, money, whatever it is, will be there when I need it. And I guess some people call that faith, but I know faith has these other sort of connotations, and it doesn't always work for me as a word, but it definitely touches on faith and trust. I get grounded in the trust that everything is going to be okay for the day. And that assurance, Lou, doesn't come from my little brain, because my little brain gets to hatching schemes, and it doesn't work.
I like that. Picking from the powers around you in the universe. But faith is a thing. It doesn't, we got branded faith with other stuff, but I'm totally with you on this.
Yeah.
Let's do the admin part of the show before we have the absolute greatest fun street episode of Thrive Loud here. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, websites, URL, socials. We'll put it all in the show notes, but it gets way more engagement when they hear it from you.
Oh, yeah. You definitely want to look up the improvisersmindset.com. And that's with an improvisor with an OR. That's the British spelling. And so make sure you do that. The Improviser's Mindset, or Improviser's Mindset, DionFlynn.com. And, the place you can find me is Wednesdays at 1 p.m. You can find on the website how to drop in and just do improv with us for a half hour. Everybody's welcome to come, and you'll learn a little something, get a little break from your week, put a little play. I also do classes, of course, that you can learn about and sign up for. And I'll be doing a week summer-long retreat. I'll do a week-long summer retreat. Could you imagine if it was summer-long?
Which would be awesome, but it would be tough to get a commitment.
Retreat. A short 2.5-month retreat.
They actually call that a cult. But anyway, keep going.
That's right. I have something of a cult leader in me. I mean, if I was not tuned into the universe and it wasn't keeping me grounded, I'd be a cult leader. That's at the Omega Institute in beautiful Rhinebeck, New York, the Hudson Valley. It'll be the week of June the 12th or 13th, whatever that is, on the Sunday. So look that up. And then otherwise, I go to organizations, both, by remote, and I lead experiences for business professionals where they can get to know themselves a little bit better and play with these tools at depth.
Love it. We're going to go down Fun Street. Permission to go down Fun Street. Dion,
please.
We're going to have
let's
fun.
Let's do it. I don't know what you got planned, but let's do it.
Oh, it's going to be good. Okay. So first
Can
of
I get
all,
a drink of water?
Yeah, absolutely. Go right ahead. By the way, it was really interesting, listeners, for those that like that whole giraffe thing. I'm about 5'11". I have no idea how tall Dion is, but he is a much taller giraffe than I am. I want to say he's close to like 6'5", maybe 6'6". Is that stretching it a bit? Maybe. Who knows? He's chugging some water here. So am I, by the way.
Yeah, I am. When I feel good about myself, Lou, I'm 6'4". When I'm not, and I'm slouching a little bit, I'm 6'3 3/4.
Okay, there you go. I see that's from 5'11". That looks huge. That's all good. Okay. Here we go.
5'11 is pretty tall.
As you've seen, I'm 5'11", but my arms were meant for you. I have a 6'3" wingspan, which is kind of crazy. So I'm like,
that's really bizarre.
It's bizarre. And my son, who's even shorter than I am, his arms might be the same length as mine. It's absolutely, we're like orangutan.
So as the generations go, the
arms
men will continue to get shorter and the arms will get longer until they scrape the floor, I guess. I don't know. That's going to happen just in 1 or 2 generations. I'm talking about in 20 years, in 20 generations.
We're just going to be arms. That's it. Just arms. We won't need legs at that point. Okay. Can you share with the listeners what you shared with me is one of your all-time favorite movies?
What did I say?
You said the documentary.
Oh, was it Buck?
Yes.
Buck. Oh, yeah, I love that. I saw that documentary twice in the theater, like three days apart. Buck Brannaman who's a cowboy who teaches horse clinics.
The Horse Whisperer, or
The
sort of
Horse
like that,
Whisperer
right?
guy. Yeah. No, the movie The Horse Whisperer with Robert Redford was based on Buck Brannaman's life. And I'm going to meet him someday. Watch me. I'll probably Wikipedia. He probably passed away.
I could
last
probably
year
get him
or
on the
something.
pod, and maybe I'll just have you be like a surprise guest or something. That could be pretty cool. We could work that out.
If you could do that, that would be great.
Be
You know,
really
I
cool.
just haven't reached out to him, but I'll tell you the documentary, he goes around and he works with people's horses.
Yeah.
And in working with people's horses, he can actually diagnose and see what's going on with the people.
Wow.
And to me, the horse is the improv. Because, you know, Jerry Seinfeld says that talent is like waking up on a galloping horse, you know, and it's this wild force. And I look at improv as the same kind of thing. I can see what is going on with a person when they're doing improv. And I'm not a therapist, so I don't go there with them, but I know how to give them a couple little tips, tricks, adjustments, or a place to put their concentration where they can really make use of it. So that's why I love that movie. It's a very emotional movie. And he came up from a very difficult childhood. And I think there's something about having a difficult childhood where you don't want to pass that along. And you're very interested in how can I be the opposite or different than what happened to me, some of the situations I found myself in.
I like it. I'm going to check that one out. That's very cool. And I've seen The Horse Whisperer, but I definitely have to go check out this one. I love documentaries. Buck. It's on the list.
Good. Are you a documentary fan?
He loved the documentaries, big time. Anytime you're finding that little bit of the story or behind the scenes, I love it. I've always loved history. That's why the history component of something, just to kind of like get that. It's like we forget that the greatest stories ever written really happened.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you can't make some stuff up. As great as fiction can be, the incredible history that we've been through is just an amazing journey. So to capture and document it, and it, to me, is always is fascinating. So anyway, that great stuff. I'm putting it on the list, Buck. All right, we're going to do what I call the speed round, and you're going to love this. This is how this works, because you like to think on your feet.
To a certain degree.
To a certain degree, yeah, except when you're sitting down. I'm going to ask you something. I want the first thing that comes to your mind. These are things that lift you up, motivate you, make you feel good. Basically, they make you thrive. You ready?
Love it.
Of late, a song you love to hear or one that pumps you up.
I woke up this morning feeling fine. Something or another was on my mind. Zababa dee doo dow bo dee doo dee.
I had no idea we would get the actual singing of it today. Spectacular.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you know, I'm that's what I do.
This is where it's going to get fun. A favorite food that is not a dessert.
Okay. I'm gonna have to say cheese chips from Trader Joe's.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah, they're good.
A favorite dessert.
Favorite dessert would have to be frozen blueberries with coconut oil on them.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I like that.
because it makes it like a kind of ice cream thing, but
Yeah.
it's much better for you.
I gotcha. An activity you wish you did more of.
Oh, running off the coconut oil, like
Running-
jogging after eating
jogging
coconut oil.
after you had the coconut oil.
Yeah, after I've had the coconut oil.
An activity you wish you did less of.
Oh, less of. Oh, definitely watching YouTube videos and reading articles and surfing the internet mindlessly, but after 9 p.m. and before bed.
Dion, if I were to snap my fingers and you could be anywhere in the world, where are you?
I'm probably in this little Airbnb my wife and I got when we were in Sacramento, and there was like a sauna there and a nice pool. There was a sauna there and a nice pool and a hot tub, and she was pregnant with our son, and I'd probably snap us there.
All right. The next two questions, if it's okay, I'm not going to have you answer. We have somebody else in the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, the former president of the United States, number 44, President Barack Obama. Barack, how are you today?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. Things are good. I really like being out of the White House.
So I'm going to ask you two questions here, Barack, if it's okay.
Yeah,
First
yeah.
question is, what is your favorite food to prepare in an air fryer?
I'd have to say I really like Brussels sprouts.
And
Just get them all garlicky, and get them all, nice and good. You want to burn them a little bit. My wife Michelle, she doesn't like them burnt, but I like them a little. What I like to call them Hawaiian style.
so the last part I want to know is there's been a lot of arguments. In fact, there's been some very popular blogs out there or people writing about the value of the air fryer today in society. Where would you say, like, as it relates to people who live in New York or apartments and small kitchens, the importance of the air fryer appliance in the kitchen?
Well, listen. Here's the thing. This is the best way I can put it to you. Look, uh, when I went into the White House in 2008, uh, there wasn't no air fryer. Nobody had an air fryer. Nobody was talking about air fryers. And then I come out and the air fryer exists. Now, nobody lets me cook when I'm in the White House. Nobody let me do anything. I get out and I run into the air fryer. It's like a little R2D2, like a little R2D2 that just makes everything come to life. It resuscitates dead food, you know. So you can't keep me away from it. Now, Michelle and I, we're producing shows on Netflix, and I'm thinking about doing an air fryer show, like an air fryer cook-off or something like that. I'll be the judge.
I like where it's going. Mr. President, thank you for joining us today on the program. It was a pleasure to have you.
I do what I can. It's great to be here, and bye-bye.
I'll tell you, Dion, everyone who shows up for this show, it's so nice to see who comes in on Thrive Loud. And just to know that we have that kind of clout for your episode is just truly unbelievable.
Well, I just can't even believe he did it. I'm impressed by you, first of all, for getting him.
Well, I mean, hey, listen, every now and then Thrive Loud steps above and beyond what it needs to make sure we get the right people on the program.
Sounded like he had a cold or something.
It sounded like it could have been. It sounded like he could have been stuck in San Antonio for 4 extra days because of a windstorm. Dion Flynn, truly extraordinary opportunity to have you on the program. The improviser's mindset. Man, I had so much fun sharing the stage with you, getting to hang out with you, but more notably, getting to connect with you even further with it. And thanks so much for coming on the program.
I appreciate it, Lou. Thank you so much. And let me wind up a little bit of love fest for you. It was great to meet you in San Antonio and to get you and to watch you do your thing and to watch you bring people together. And I never told you this, to watch you use elements of psychodrama by getting a guy to come up and play 3 different aspects of himself. That surprised me, and I like that because I use that kind of stuff myself. And I thought you handled it very deftly in that you let it live in that area between like sort of deep therapeutic work and also something that would be safe and appropriate for this environment. So I really liked that, and I wanted to say it.
It's good, man. It's like a chance to learn from the best and observe the best. So great stuff, man. Thanks for coming on the program.
You're welcome.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.
Oh, we're going now. There we go. So
If you're going yet.
yeah. So what I
Now,
do
you edit
is
any of this later?
I'll give you
or do
the
just
run
go
of show
with
thing
what
here.
it
We
is?
do is we go for about 25, 30 minutes, typical podcast interview. I'm going to do an opening about you. Then we dive into just back and forth. It's just conversation throughout. We're wrapping things up when we get 3/4 of the way through when I say, share with everybody where you can find you, the plug section. And then we do go down Fun Street, even though we've been having fun the whole time. And I hit with certain questions and stuff. Like we talk about your favorite movie and things like that.
Right.
All the things that are about you, because when we learn more about you, we connect. So that's the general thought. But I have a feeling we're going to go a little off script here. So, and we do, and I'll create like fun videos and stuff. This is one heck of a sound little studio. I've got those on the ceiling. The things you have above there. Those little wedges. Yes.
Oh, like the baffles, the little sound panels. It doesn't give me perfect, it's not like a total,
first of all,
but it kills a lot of the bounce.
I actually feel guilty. I yelled at my wife when I said, you got me on a 6:15 in the morning flight that has to connect through Charlotte. She's like, yeah, but we're going to go straight to Westchester. So to get you home faster. And when I got home and I heard what happened to you, I was like, oh my God.
Right. Well, I feel guilty because I feel like I should be more upset that I couldn't get speedily back to my family. I feel that just reveals all kinds of dysfunction in my family. Yeah. But the way it is, and I hate to make this a branding thing, but it's that's how I live. Because if I got agitated because I couldn't control
San Antonio,
planes coming out of wherever we were, where were we? San Antonio. I keep wanting to say Santa Augusta. I don't know what that is.
All right. So
then I would go nuts.
Before we go, I had to read something to you. Okay. I'm going to read you the message I wrote. And then, because I realized I didn't have your email at the time that I sent it, but I sent it to Stephanie and to the crew. And it says, thanks, compliments, and congrats. And I'll read it to you. It says, Stephanie, a heartfelt and warm thank you for having me be a part of this year's Grow Retreat, sharing how you need to be, and workshopping the Connect to Thrive exercises to become a master connector with your incredible Grow Retreaters was truly an honor and a pleasure. One of the outputs Master Connectors create is a connecting culture that thrives. That couldn't have been more evident amongst your Grow Retreat crew, your team, and community, the attendees. Fittingly, I think everyone involved this week showed how fearless and agile they can be by putting on a spectacular event. I know a few of my fellow speakers, pictured below raising a glass to you, I'll show you the picture in a minute, feel the same way. The engagement and positive energy could be felt by everyone throughout the 2 days, and that is a testament to the incredible effort put forward by you and your team. And while I'm sure your forward-thinking, always moving 100 score in D-disc brain is already shifting, pun intended, to next year, don't forget to take a few breaths to celebrate what y'all did this week. Right. Y'all purposeful. You got it. You aren't.
Yeah, Texas. I got you. Everything.
Let's stay connected and continue to be super every day.
It means
and then
something.
I said, P.S. check out the stories. And I sent one of your fun improv bits that I did on the phone. But she replied back. Finally, she was off radar, whatever it was. And yeah, exactly, which is exhausting. And she goes, hey,
she's recovering from
hey,
all
Lou,
that work.
You were absolutely spectacular as a speaker and as a person. You're why we hire professionals. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, I've started thinking, planning, and plotting already. But I did take time over the weekend to relax, rest, and rejuvenate. I'm still in low-key mode for the rest of the week, my way of rewarding myself and letting things percolate and rise to the top. Man, I wish I checked my email in time to see these stories. I bet they were amazing. All you speakers were great. Thank you so much for coming out. It was a pleasure. So thought you'd share that with you. Yeah, it's nice. So
nice way to close it up. You did a good job by doing your follow-up.
You ready to rock and roll? No, let's do it. And I'll piece some of this stuff together. We'll have some fun. We'll do some video fun things because you're just too fun. Okay. Yes. Sure.
You know what I might do? Just real quick before we get started is take off this.
Of course not.
I can't hear you right now if you're talking. And I have a suspicion you are because I'm hearing a buzzing that sounds like your voice coming out of the headset.
And my testicles laminated.
Like Blue Diamond I always do. The bit I always do is, and then the secret to, and the man told me that was the secret to life, and I was only allowed to say it
You
once.
already answered the question. You've got water or some beverage, and I already wrote the promo for this thing because I'm going to spin this around pretty quick. You are a professional, and you know how to speak the way you're supposed to speak. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Water.
Well, you know,
Water,
I mean,
W-A-R-T-E-R-R.
It's water. Water's the key. Wooded. How about this? Wooded.
All right, I'm going to kick it off. So have fun.
A little bit of something on the end.
Go.
Let's